as a kid growing up, we used to play a particular game. And this was long before the days of the internet, long before the days of PlayStation and Xbox. This was when children knew how to go outside and play. We used to play a game called hide and go seek. And the object of the game was all of the participants would go and hide while the one person would stand at what you call the base, and he would do the counting. He would be the seeker. And I recall that whenever he counted to that designated number, that he would cry out, ready or not, here I come. It didn't matter if you were satisfied with your hiding place. It didn't matter if you had hidden or not. It didn't matter if you were ready. He was coming to find you. Somebody say, ready or not, here I come. I just want to take a few moments to speak to you on the sermon topic of ready or not, here I come. Here in the 12th chapter of the book of Acts, we find the Apostle Peter locked up in prison. Not because of something that he had done wrong, not because he was necessarily breaking the law, but because he was preaching the word of the living God. Peter finds himself in this place called prison. Peter is in a place called stuck. But truly, in life, you don't have to be in a physical prison to find yourself in a place called stuck. Sometimes you go through things in life and you can feel stuck. Sometimes you find yourself in situations and you can feel as though you are simply stuck. Peter was in a place called stuck. The spectacle and the spectacular. To make a spectacle of someone, Bishop, it means to put them on public display. The Bible says in the preceding verses that Herod's intention was to bring the Apostle Peter out at the Passover. Now you got to understand what the Passover is, Sevilla. The Passover was the grandest stage in all of Judaism. There was 3 festivals where all the Jews would congregate on Jerusalem. The Passover being the granddaddy of them all. The Passover was the biggest celebration in all of Judaism. You got to understand that there was hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that would congregate on Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover. You got to understand the Passover and Herod's intention to bring Peter out, to embarrass him at the Passover, to humiliate him, to dog him out, to make a spectacle of him. You see, this is the reason why they crucified Jesus during the season of Passover, because they wanted to do it in front of as many people as they possibly could. Herod wanted to send a message. Herod wanted to get his point across. Not only did he want to kill Peter, but he wanted to humiliate and make a spectacle out of Peter. Somebody say a spectacle. Now, no one wants to be picked on. About 3 months ago, I started a new job. Well, on my job, they gave me a trainer. And my trainer he's a Spanish guy. His name is Jorge. Well, Jorge is about 5'5", and he weighs about 125. And I understood, it took me a few days to begin to understand, but I began to understand that I was dealing with someone that had a short man complex. And I recall one particular day I was trying to get the soap dispenser to work, and this thing sprays out of a water hose. And so somebody said, it don't spray a little bit. And so I was trying to get it to work. And I looked at Jorge and I said, man, this thing won't work. So Jorge said, well, don't worry about it. And so I began to put it down, and just as I began to put it down, it decides to work. The problem is that Jorge was standing directly in front of me. And it sprayed Jorge directly in his face. place. If looks could kill, I'd be a dead man. Now remember that Jorge was my trainer, but Jorge didn't say 2 words to me for the rest of the day. Jorge was upset. So we came in to work the next day, and Jorge, he addressed the situation, and I apologized when I did it. And so I apologized again the next day, and I told him I was sorry. Well, about a week later, we was washing the truck down, and I was standing on top, and I was washing the truck down, and I thought that everything was all good. But when Jorge and I got inside of the truck, I had not glanced over at Jorge. Jorge just started to speak. He said, you know, when you spray the water, when I spray the water, I make sure that you're not in the way. But you disrespect. And so I looked over at Jorge, and he was soaking wet. And so I began to apologize, and I was trying not to laugh, but I understood that I was dealing with someone that had a short man complex. There's no telling how often or how many times in life that he had been picked on. Nobody wants to be picked on accident or on purpose. Nobody wants to be embarrassed. Nobody wants to be made a spectacle of. Peter was to be brought out in front of all of his countrymen to be made a spectacle of. And I'm reminded of Job, and how the Bible talks about Job being this honorable man. How everything that Job touched turned to gold, and he was the richest man in all of the East. That Job's children was blessed. That everything that Job did and everything that he connected to was blessed. And I believe that even Job's wife was probably a decent looking woman. How do I know that? Because if you have enough money, you can just about make anything look good. You can take a 10 and make her a 12. You got enough money, mama, you can take a 5 and make her a 10. So I believe that even Job's wife was something to look at. And I'm reminded of how Job began to experience hardship. And how his friends began to antagonize him and accuse him. Job, you remember when you had it going on. But Job, you did something to upset God. Then I'm reminded of Daniel. The Bible says that Daniel, even though he was in captivity, that Daniel worked in the king's castle, that he had the favor of the king.